Welcome to Standing Up. I want to talk a little bit more about the issue of soldiers, because that's one of the biggest areas of contrast, I would say, between both sides. There is nothing that causes more fear or hate amongst Palestinians than seeing an Israeli soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to ask an Israeli what a soldier means to them, it means their security. Israelis are freaked out by the concept of not having a strong military to defend ourselves. And our collective trauma goes back many centuries, and our history on this land, and the brutality of terror attacks, just reinforced trauma that we've had. So for me, it's very difficult, because when I speak to Israelis about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, most of them are not hopeful, and they're not so open to hearing the other side's narrative, which I think is a huge issue. But I often hear their main concerns, and they say, well, if we don't defend ourselves, then we will all die. What can I really tell these people? Because I recognize how harmful the soldiers' presence is to Palestinians, but how can I explain to Israelis that they will be safe if that presence disappears? And I don't have a good enough explanation yet.
But you're dealing with a majority Muslim population. I understand the concept of having military protection. That's an inherent right.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should be secure and protected. And nobody's arguing against that. What we're arguing against is the fact that this is not protection. Them sending the soldiers into our areas, they are constantly picking on us. They're saying rude things. They're groping. I have had my house searched in ways nobody should have. My children witness a lot of things. Having dogs go through the house. Dogs for a Muslim. I mean, we're Muslim. Again, we're Muslim. Bringing dogs into a Muslim house is extremely, it's just a huge sign of disrespect. The areas, before Intifada 2, they weren't as aware. I will say that, Intifada 1, like everybody says that we had it better. We didn't have it better. There were curfews. See, I used to come visit during the summer, and we knew you do not leave Shafat after 10 o'clock because there would be curfews. And the curfews were enforced because you'd have a Jeep with a bunch of 18-year-olds, and depending on their mood, that's how you got treated.
Right.
After Intifada 1, Intifada 2 is when we started seeing the checkpoints. Intifada 2 was absolute hell. The checkpoints were moving all the time because they could not figure out Hamas. They couldn't figure out when the next bomb was coming. And every time something happened, it was locked down on us and the soldiers just coming in. And everybody, and this is what I get from Israelis, they think it's this these, like in the movies, they're like, they know what's up and they've got their order. No, it's chaos. There's a bunch of pissed off Jews who just saw a bus blow up, and they're coming to take it out on the Palestinians. And that's literally what we would see. So basically, then with the Intifada 2, we were taking off our clothes at all the checkpoints. The beginning, they were, again, comes to gender and cultural issues. They were having women strip, because for looking for the suicide belts, and they would do that with male soldiers. And then you had observant Muslim women, or just women in general, who didn't want to do that. So they started bringing in more females so that we could strip easier. I thought it was just so bizarre, I personally, I always refused. And the first request I would make to the Israeli soldiers is, if I'm stripping, you have to strip too. Because maybe you're the guy with the suicide belt. I don't know. But it was just the most bizarre time to live.
How would they respond to you not willing to strip?
I'm not I'm a smartass more than confrontational, and then I get confrontational. So for a lot of them, and then hearing it in perfect English totally threw them off. And then what was even worse was when it would be an IDF soldier who's an American, or who wasn't like more or less born and raised here. So they hear this woman with perfect English just saying no and talking to them, and you could see like it's like they get out of this reverie, this like haze. This is because for more or less, this is what's sad, is my English humanizes me.
Right.
I don't, I'm not speaking that guttural Arabic, and I'm dressed nicely and I have on heels. So, and then telling me to take like they see that what they're asking is so ridiculous. I'm not one of them. So, I mean, the other thing is I've also had 2 houses demolished. So, and you get these cavalcades of soldiers and the authorities that come in. So basically it's the undercover cars. I mean, we know all the different factions or the levels of authority in Israel. You have the undercover cars, and you have the undercover Shabak, or the Mustarabin, which are people who dress like us and speak perfect Arabic and blend in with us, and we're always under surveillance. And then you have the IDF, you have the 18 to 20-year-olds who are just you and your luck with that group. And then you have the guys in black, and those are special forces, and you don't mess with them. So that's how I color code it. So if guys in black show up, you don't do anything, because those guys are trained, and they will knock you out. Green guys, no.
So
not as bad.
This is a whole side to the military that I'm not familiar with. So I don't know if you know this about me, but I was a soldier myself, and I served in the West Bank in Palestine.
Okay.
And
okay.
At the time, my ideology was vastly different. I didn't think there was anything wrong. I was raised on a very, very specific narrative. It's our land. We don't hate Palestinians, but we need to fear them because they hate us. And because they hate us, we need to defend ourselves against them. That was the narrative I was raised on. I wasn't taught to hate Palestinians, just to fear them, but I wasn't taught anything about their narrative. Learning their narrative slowly got me to change, my worldview. It got me to understand that there's humans on the other side that have every right to want independence and freedom and prosperity. It took many years for my belief system to evolve, because deep-rooted teachings don't change overnight. But I never saw soldiers. The soldiers then were my friends. Now, I did see instances of abuse, and it bothered me. So even though I didn't see anything wrong with, me being a soldier in Palestine, I was upset whenever I saw abuse. And I did see it a few times. It's more prevalent than any Israeli would like to admit. But those who serve in the army and are paying attention see it. Israelis, it's interesting because they have a very deep hate for the organization breaking the silence. They see it as an anti-Israeli organization that's trying to undermine Israel's security. What breaking the silence essentially is doing is highlighting soldier abuse in the Palestinian territories. So if you don't like breaking the silence, well, then you shouldn't like the abuse of Palestinians, because they're just a result of that happening. If you want to kill breaking the silence, then have the Israeli army start punishing soldiers who abuse Palestinians.
Or recruiting Palestinians in an egalitarian army where we're all protecting each other.
That's an even better solution. Yeah, I agree. I do want to stay on the topic of soldiers for a little bit, just because I think that I would like for the audience of this show to be very broad. I would want people who are in the pro-Palestine camp to watch this. I would want people in the pro-Israel camp to watch this. And ideally, I would want, after people watch enough episodes, to then become pro-Israel and Palestine, not one or the
Right,
other.
right.
So I think that if someone in the pro-Israel camp is watching this, they still have a lot of concerns. I think what you've helped them show, what you've helped show them until now, is the struggle that Palestinians deal with every day, what it's like to be a Palestinian, needing to deal with checkpoints, with soldier abuses, with having homes demolished, and how this struggle spans over a century and even prior to Jews coming here. Where I think they would still have a bunch of questions or concerns is what practical steps can be in order to achieve peace. So we mentioned soldiers. I know that recent polling showed that the majority of Israelis support a two-state solution, and they support pulling all soldiers out of the West Bank.
Okay.
But it doesn't seem. So I see you nodding. Do you not think that?
I don't know. I mean, when they say pull the soldiers, or I mean, why just soldiers? Why not the settlements?
So I actually didn't see that data, but
Yeah.
I actually think that the amount of Israelis that would be okay with that is also fairly high, if not the majority. But I think the concern is with this, and again, they don't agree to do it unilaterally.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, and this is what many people are calling for. Let's say tomorrow Israel were to pull out all soldiers and all settlers. Is there a guarantee that we won't have a similar situation to what we have in Gaza, where Hamas
Or
takes
re-elected?
over?
Why would, okay, but look, we had different circumstances. Hamas was elected when Fatah failed. Okay, Fatah had failed at two things. At the time, he had Yasser Arafat. Yasser Arafat supported Iraq. Remember, there was the first Gulf War, and Kuwait takes out all its money. There was all these economic things that also got Hamas into power. Hamas also did a lot for infrastructure, which is absolutely missing on the Palestinian side. So yeah, you guys take out the soldiers, but you do not have a public sector and you do not have an infrastructure to support those people that are going to stay there. Same problem in Gaza. I like, for instance, under Oslo, we are not allowed to manufacture.
Right.
We can put things together. We can assemble things. We like Legos, like we're little kids or something. We're not allowed to manufacture. We are not in control of our ports, and we're not in control of our money flow. So it's not an issue of soldiers leaving. Soldiers leave. And believe me, even as a Palestinian, I understand look, security is an issue. Security is an issue in our region. Security is an issue with what's going on around us. Because outside of these borders, this is still Palestine. Palestine is from the river to the sea and from Ras al Nakura to Tal Rashash. Because Palestinians do not identify with what the UN sanctioned. Palestinians identify with every single inch of this land. I have two daughters-in-law from two depopulated villages in the north, and that's Palestine. Even though they have Israeli settlers, I mean, for us, they're sitting on their stolen property. Their houses still exist. Going back to the point, can we guarantee anything? No. What exists? Okay, I think the military presence makes up for the fact there's all these missing things. Now somebody's going to retort and say, yeah, but you got all these ministries, but we don't have a democratic process, we don't have representation, and we don't have power. So, it's weird. It's a weird symbiosis. Like, the military should leave, but what's going to stay? And what's it going to be transitioned? And do we get the same deals as Oslo? And the PA is not doing that well either when it comes to abuses, because there's no way to hold them accountable. The PA is also abusing people. They're abusing people from PFLP and Hamas. Everybody that's in jail on their side. There's also the security coordination. So it's not about building Palestine, it's just managing Palestinians. Do we make a transition from management to actual autonomy, or are we just, going to happen like what happened in Oslo? I mean, we already
Right.
went through this.
Right. So,
And we're pissed. I mean, we are pissed. We are.
understandably,
so
understandably
I don't
so.
know how. So if you have a large majority of people are really pissed, I don't know how to translate that. This does not mean I don't want Israel to pull out, but nobody's sitting down to come up with something that actually makes sense, either Israelis or Palestinians, and we are perfectly capable of doing it.